Final picks for UFC 312. We'll talk DraftKings, lineup construction, everything you need to do to be successful on this slate. And as always, you can call me Kunith. Let's make some money this week. Two things before we get into anything. First, we have lost one of my favorite, if not my favorite fight on the entire card. My pride and joy, Nyman Jargle Tumen Dembrel, is not going to be on the card this week. Botched weight cut. The whole fight gets scrapped. I'm sad about it. So if you already started building some DraftKings lineups up until this point, you're going to want to adjust if you had Tumen Dembrel in there. That's number one. Number two, if you haven't already, go back and watch the predictions video from earlier in the week. That is a full card breakdown. We break down each one of these fights. Watch that, then watch this, and you'll be fully prepared. Let's get into it. When you're building your lineups this week, of course, you're going to have some underdogs in there, some value plays, players at 8,000 and below, and I'm going to tell you my few favorite that I have this week now that we're working with 12 fights. For you to get the sitting champion at this price, it makes a lot of sense, right? Last time out, you would have had to pay 9,200. She broke the slate. Before that, you would have had to pay 9,200. Scored more points than you've ever seen. 9,400 just hits that 1-to-1 salary. 133 when she was 8,800. We're never going to get this kind of pricing for Zhang Weili on DraftKings ever again, so you might as well take advantage. If you're running multiple lineups, you're going to want some of each side because this fight does not go the distance. But Zhang Weili is my preferred side of this matchup because she's been way more active than Tatiana Suarez. Since Suarez has made it into the UFC, she's fought 7 times. 7 fights over 9 years is not great because if you look at what Zhang Weili's done, she's fought 22 times in that time frame and she's had 7 fights for championships in the UFC. She's one of the best to ever do it, and if you want to talk about age, you want to talk about, oh, maybe she's getting toward the end of her career at 35 years old, she's only a year older than the challenger here. Not only that, but she's been in better health. She's the much better striker. She's had to dig deeper into these fights. She has way more 5-round experience as well. And you go back and you actually watch the performances from Tatiana Suarez, which there aren't a whole lot of relevant ones because she's only fought twice in the last 6 years. You look at her fight against Jessica Andrade winning a lot of the striking exchanges. Where Tatiana Suarez did have success on the feet is with that front kick, with that teep. Zhang Weili spending time in Thailand so close to fight time leads me to believe that she's not about to be getting teeped. I see Weili doing a good job of shutting down that front kick, landing that right hand of her own, getting in and out in a flash, and then making Tatiana Suarez kind of chase her as she gets going, which Tatiana Suarez can do that. She is the kind of fighter who can fight from behind because of her style. If she gets on top, she's very good at getting that front choke, wrapping up a submission, dropping back into a guillotine, even if it's arm in, she's going to finish that. But Zhang Weili, man, I think that the preparation is just too good. I think she's going to fight too good of a game plan. I love her this week. Next value play. It's going to be Justin Tafa. And yeah, he's got some size disadvantages here when it comes to the height and the reach, but I think the moment doesn't really matter to him at all. It might for the debutante. I think he's going to be excited to go out there, land some hard strikes of his own. We've only really seen him hurt with punches one good time. I did say in the predictions video that he's never lost in Australia, and I was wrong about that. Jorge De Castro knocked him out in Australia. Thank you for those that caught that. But outside of that, he has been lights out in Australia, winning by knockout, and you see when he does win, he scores really well on DraftKings, so this is obviously one of the fights, if not the fight, you're going to need to target this week. If you're running multiple lineups, spread out that allocation, obviously, but Justin Tafa, that early knockout upside, we always want to attack that on DraftKings as best as we can. I'd be shocked to see that fight go over the first round, so give me some of that Justin Tafa this week, one of the better value plays in my opinion, just because of that boom or bust upside. That's what we're looking for when it comes to DraftKings scoring. Jimmy Crute is interesting just because when he has won, he's scored pretty well, right? He hasn't won in a while, but in the fights that he's winning, 118 last W, 138 the one before that, 106 the time before that. Even 88 points on a 12 fight card, it might get you there at 7,700 as long as the other value plays aren't crushing, but I think Jimmy Crute's got a good matchup this week. I don't think Rodolfo Bellato's all that good. Defensively, Bellato leaves a lot to be desired. I think Jimmy Crute with the time off is going to come in here. Maybe not the Jimmy Crute of old, but a better version of what we saw last time out, getting guillotined by Alonzo Menafield. That's almost inexcusable. But we know that the man can shoot for takedowns. We know that he's a big, powerful guy who's going to be landing hard punches down the middle. Bellato, like we talked about in the predictions video, standing like this. He's begging for Crute to throw something down the middle that finds a home. So I like Jimmy Crute as one of the value plays this week. I really wanted this right here. But it doesn't matter. The other value play that we're going to look at is obviously Sean Strickland. He's got 5 rounds to work. Even in the loss last time out, scored 71 points. With the amount of volume that he's throwing each and every time, he gives you a nice scoring floor. Even in that fight against Jared Cannonier, he scored 68 points in a loss. Sean Strickland has that high scoring potential for you in a win. that high scoring potential or scoring floor in a loss. So when you're running your cash game lineups, you're going to want to stack that fight anyway. But he's got to be somebody in value play consideration, no doubt. So those are really the value plays that I like. I know Prado's getting some love. I don't think Jenkins is. I don't think Mikhailov is. I know people are telling me about Colby Thicknesse, but I'm not so sure. I know that Colby Thicknesse kind of is in like a I have nothing to lose kind of situation here. So if you want to go with him, if this fight gets extended, we don't know what Topuria is going to look like late. He might come out here and try to take this kid's head off, and then Colby's just going to stay there. And then come late second, third round, we might see Topuria start to gas, start to fade. And that's when a $6,900 Colby Thicknesse would be a good play, but personally, I'm not all that interested. So those are going to be the value plays that I land on this week. We're going to use them to build some lineups. We'll start with cash game lineups, but before we do, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something for the algorithm, let me know. As far as your cash games go, again, we're going to want to stack the main event. I think it's a very stackable main event. Just look at the last time these two fought. He put up 119, and again, Strickland put up 71. So what's that giving us? 190? When you add that together, that's pretty damn good. That's like having two fighters score 85 points. That's not it at all. Like two fighters scoring 95 points. There we go. So you got Dricus Plessis in there. We're going to come down here, stack the main event, 84.50 left over per fighter. This is where you can get down here and kind of start playing the maybe like a Colby Thicknesse kind of game. Because when we're looking for a punt play, in my opinion, what we're going to be doing is looking for the cheapest possible play for somebody that we think isn't going to get finished. So you want to go with Colby Thicknesse because he's shown to be durable, fine. I think in a situation like this, though, I'm going to go with Jonathan Mikhailov. Reason being is because Kevin Jousset doesn't really put guys out, right? He outpoints them on his way to victory, and Jonathan Mikhailov sells out to get takedowns. He sells out to get that clinch, drags guys to the mat. Even if it doesn't work out for him in a bad position, he's going to work to try to reverse position, get back on top, and try to find his way to his spot. That's super important because when you're looking for that scoring floor, especially with somebody who's lower salary like this, we're looking for somebody who can maybe land a lot of strikes. If they can't land a lot of strikes, get at least a takedown or two throughout the fight. The clinch is also a powerful position for a punt play just because you're getting points every second that they spend in a dominant position. So even if he's just trying to work for something up against the cage and Jousset's defending well, landing strikes, winning the minutes, we could still see Mikhailov scoring enough points that makes it worth it at the end of the night. And again, this is just for your cash games. So those are your 50-50s, head-to-heads, double-ups. I don't recommend playing Mikhailov in your tournaments because I don't think he's going to win. But I am cool with playing him in cash games so that we open up enough salary to start affording some of these other more expensive pieces because as you can see, we have 88.66 left over per fighter, so we can come up here. I like Viacheslav Borschev this week at 8,300. That leaves us with 91.50 left over per fighter. I think Gabriel Santos is interesting, and now with 9,400, you can come all the way up here to Wang, Cong. I'm totally cool with that. Not afraid to use all of the salary in cash games. When we get into the tournaments, we're going to try our best to leave as much here as possible so that we can get as different as possible so that we're not chopping our winnings with other players. This is going to be the cash game formula of the week. If you did well with cash games last week or you do well this week, let me know in the comments. I love when I hear people say, Kunith, I didn't play cash games before and then I started playing them and now I doubled my money and I feel a lot better about myself versus people just playing GPP after GPP and then at the end of the night they either have a good amount of money in their account or zero. You don't need to do that every time. Just food for thought, but now with that we will start building some tournament lineups before we do. If you want to build better lineups or you want to build multiple lineups in less time, or if you want a computer to kind of take some of the guesswork out of it for you, or you want to work hand in hand with the computer to try to cook up something that maybe nobody else is doing, you could go use the optimizer on KunithMMA.com. That is your DraftKings lineup optimizer, especially if you're running multiple 20, 50, 150 lineups. You definitely want to be using a lineup optimizer because most of the better players that you're competing against week in and week out are using some sort of optimizer. You'll also have access to the DFS strategy guide where we talk about the best plays of the week and why they're the best plays of the week, as well as the official betting article each week and access to the community tab where we put our parlays in each and every week. All of that can be found on KunithMMA.com, linked in the description and in a pinned comment. Now let's build some GPP lineups. Now for your tournaments, even though you only have 12 fights to work with this week, I think with those 4 value plays that we have and with the pricing on some of these guys in that mid-range, which we'll get into as we build some lineups, you can get different even though there's only 12 fights. There are a lot of ways that you can approach this. I think one of the best ways you can do this, I think I will be doing this myself this week. Quillen Salkilled right at 9,600. I don't think people are dying to press this button, and I'm telling you right now, the kid is solid. We didn't talk much about this because we kind of took the piss out of Anshul Jubilee on the predictions video, but Quillen Salkilled is damn good. You go back and you watch his fight on Contender Series, the dude's volume is insane. He rips the body with these switch kicks like it's nobody's business. He knows how to keep that stick out there with that jab, and he fires that right hand very cleanly down the middle. He's a long guy for 155 pounds, and you might see that he's 6 feet tall, and Anshul Jubilee on paper is 6 feet tall as well, but he's got a decent sized reach advantage here, and he knows how to use that length a lot better than Jubilee does. And the dude doesn't just strike long, he also grapples long, and I think that's going to make a big difference here. If Anshul Jubilee ends up trying to close the distance, looks for a takedown, Salkilled's going to be on his back like that. And from there, I expect him to win this fight via rear naked choke. I think that he's either going to win in the first round late, or he's going to break Jubilee down and finish him in the third round, land a lot of strikes, maybe some takedowns as well. You see him on Contender Series, I think he secured like 9 takedowns or something like that. So he can really do it all. I think we got the much better athlete here. We definitely have the much better fighter as well, because the dude he fought in Contender Series is good enough to be on the UFC roster. He's probably going to end up on the UFC roster, if I had to guess, in the next 12 to 18 months. And he was landed some clean shots on Salkilled, shots that Anshul Jubilee would say, no, thank you, and look for a way out of there. No, he would not compete the way that Salkilled did under that kind of pressure. So I think at 9,600, we just have a guy who has more ways to win, a guy who wants it a bit more, a guy who's got more finishing upside, a guy who can finish this fight late and still post a high DraftKings score. I'm talking 110 or better, and he probably comes in under owned this week, which we really like. So I'm going to put Quillen Salkilled in there. If you want to play Cong Wang, be my guest. I worry a little bit that she might win this fight real early, not land that many strikes, and score 104 at 9,600 when she did that last time. Didn't get you there. Damn sure didn't get you there when she lost at 9,600 last time out. But I just worry that Bruna Brasil, just being a cerebral competitor, I think she's going to try to stay away from that power early, force clinch situations, and kind of slow the pace of the fight down a bit. So I'm fine with not being too heavy on Cong this week. Aleksandre Topuria, maybe, if you want to play him, cool, but for this lineup, I think I'll also end up going with Kody Steele at 9,100. Same thing as Salkilled. When you saw this dude on Contender Series, stupid chin. He was eating some really clean shots from a guy who I also think could be in the UFC. The dude he was fighting was not bad. And I think the dude that he's fighting this week is bad. I think that Rong Zhu doesn't have anything for him, because Rong Zhu defensively leaves a lot to be desired. He eats a lot of shots. Kody Steele is going to be landing hard as well. And Rong Zhu likes to be the one moving forward. Kody Steele likes to be the one moving forward as well. So I think Rong Zhu is going to end up being very uncomfortable, because he's not going to be able to do the things that he wants to do, because I don't think Kody Steele is going to be giving up any ground to anybody anytime soon. I think Kody Steele at 9,100 is interesting. And if you're coming up here just out the gate with expensive pieces, I think that makes you different enough. Now, if I come down here, obviously I'm going to need some salary relief with so little left over. So I'll come down here and grab my cheap pieces like Sean Strickland. I wish. Come here and grab somebody like Jimmy Crute at 7,700. I might grab Tafa here at 7,800, and then I might just grab Zhang Weili. I'm fine with this. If I had to adjust this a little bit, I might come off of somebody like Kody Steele, and I might come down here to another guy who I think has a chance to win in impressive fashion and score a decent amount of points, which would be Viacheslav Borschev. I've left 1,000 salary on the table. I think that's just fine. Instead, maybe we come off of Salkilled and we go grab some Kody Steele, because realistically, Gabriel Santos is probably going to end up going the distance, hasn't broken 100 points yet. Kevin Jousset did break 100 points in his debut and 96 after, but now you're paying a premium, right? You've never paid this much for him, and he's got a guy who's probably going to be pretty hard to put away, so I'm not too interested there. So this would be a situation where I probably come down here and just grab an inexpensive piece and leave 1,500 salary on the table. I don't think that's crazy at all. Now, if you're running multiple lineups and you find yourself in this situation, the easiest thing that you could do here is just make the pivot to the champion off of Sean Strickland. You left 500 salary on the table. That's fine. You can also make the pivot off of Zhang Weili, and you can do the same thing in opposite order. Jake Matthews might be sneaky at 8,800, especially with how many people are probably going to be on Prado this week. If you want to come down here, grab Borschev again. You want to come down here, grab Tafa, grab Zhang, 85.50 left over per fighter. Again, I'll probably find myself grabbing some of these same value plays, but just to give you a different look, let's say you are somebody who thinks that Colby Thicknesse is able to pull one out late in the fight, like third round kind of TKO deal. Now you've got this much left over. You can grab literally anybody. If you really wanted to break some ankles, you could go with a Dricus du Plessis, right? You're probably going to need the winner of the main event in your lineup. Realistically, I think that the most likely outcome for the winning lineup this week is going to have the winner of the main and the co-main in it. But there are a handful of fighters who I'm just not looking at this week realistically. I touched on some of them already, but I'll go through them with you real quick. Wang Cong I think is a little pricey this week, so I'm not too interested. I think Kevin Jousset is just too expensive for what his scoring ceiling looks like. I think that Gabriel Santos has too tough of a matchup to go out there and score a whole lot of points. And then if you want to come down here, some of these fighters are becoming valuable enough just because of their price, but realistically, I don't think Jubilee wins, or Brasil, or Rongzhu. But that'll do it for final picks this week. I know a lot of us have a lot going on this weekend with the pay-per-view, with the Super Bowl, with the day off that you're taking on Monday because of everything that's going to happen on Sunday. You know, do your thing, have your fun, but maybe don't try to break the bank, right? You don't have to listen to me, but I think you would agree it's probably pretty good advice. And you can be patient, right? Try to capture that upside, but don't go too crazy. Don't go kooky bananas. But if you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something for the algorithm, and I wish you the best of luck at UFC 312. And finally, one more time this year, go Birds.